Sup peeps, my name's Iain. I read books, sell books, buy books, collect books, do all of these things with books, and this is episode 3 of Too Many Books. And yes, I have too many books, don't we all? Anyone who loves reading has too many books. What's the right number of books to have? At least one more than what you've got at the moment. That's just the golden rule, isn't it? That's the magic number, one more than you've got just now. Anyway, this week I have been doing a fair bit of reading, and yesterday I read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I've been looking forward to this book for a wee while. I've had my eye out for it in the charity shops, the thrift stores, the op stores, whatever you want to call them. I've never seen a copy. So I just bit the bullet, knowing that the series comes on Apple in the next couple of weeks, I think. I thought, right, I better go out and just grab a copy. Still only, £3-4 to buy it off of probably eBay. Maybe it was Amazon. It was like a whole week ago. I don't remember. But picked up a copy of it. Nice wee hardcover. Not in brilliant condition, but I've got it so I could read it before the TV programme started. So I got stuck into it yesterday afternoon. I thought, well, I've got an hour, I'll read for a wee bit and see where it goes. I finished it about midnight last night. So what's the verdict? Does Dark Matter by Blake Crouch live up to the hype? Did it meet my expectations? Let's tell you, shall we? That's kind of why I'm here doing this, isn't it? I wanted to make this wee video whilst the book was pretty fresh in here. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, so that I can remember the names of the characters without having to constantly flick through and find out. And the second, because I had a few issues, but I'm going to get to them later on. First up, just want to say, it was great fun. It was a romp, it was a ride. Really, really enjoyed it. I wouldn't have read it in pretty much one sitting if I wasn't enjoying it, obviously. We've all been there where you just can't put it down and you just keep going back to it and back to it and back to it. I did doze off once, I've got to admit, but I needed a cup of coffee. I get up far too early and I stay up far too late. I needed a cup of coffee in the afternoon to keep me going, but that got it sorted and battered on through. Why did I want to read it in the first place? Let's say the TV programme coming out, but that's not enough of a reason. A good few years ago I read the Wayward Pines trilogy and loved it, and ever since I've been meaning to get something else by Blake Crouch and give it a read, but it always just drops off the radar. Like I say, I've never seen any of his books in the charity shops that I go to. I've never noticed them anyway. They might have been there and I've just skimmed past them, but recently I picked up a couple of copies of his stuff, and that's what got me back into thinking about Dark Matter, seeing that it was coming on Apple and thinking, right, now's the time, let's get into it. So I wanted to read it because I really enjoyed the Wayward Pines trilogy. I've heard a lot of good things about it from various others. Mike's book review. I thought, yeah, now's the time. So I read it yesterday. Right, first up, what's it about? So those of you who don't know the book, haven't read the book, don't want any spoilers, there will be a point in this video where I'm going to tell you there are spoilers from here on in, so stop watching. We're not there yet, so don't panic, you're alright at the moment. Are you happy in your life? Those are the last words Jason Desson hears before the masked abductor knocks him unconscious, before he awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney surrounded by strangers in hazmat suits, before the man he's never met smiles down at him and says, "Welcome back." In this world he's woken up to, Jason's life is not the one he knows. His wife is not his wife, his son was never born, and Jason is not an ordinary college physics professor, but a celebrated genius who has achieved something remarkable, something impossible. Is it this world or the other that's the dream? And even if the home he remembers is real, how can Jason possibly make it back to the family he loves? The answers lie in a journey more wondrous and horrifying than anything he could have imagined, one that will force him to confront the darkest parts of himself, even as he battles a terrifying, seemingly unbeatable foe. Ominous, scary, heavy, bulky. Right, was it good? Yes, it was good. If I was going to give things scores, I'd probably give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10. It was well paced, it kept me going. I wanted to know what happened next. It was a page turner. Was it mind-bending? No. Was it the best writing ever? No. It's a thriller. It's a page turner. You're meant to pick it up, blitz through it, and go, "Oh, that was a fun ride." Characters, pretty kind of standard for the type of material. All pretty one-dimensional, which is ironic considering what the story is about. The science and the intellect required to understand it, very, very basic. The whole concept behind it all, it's a wee bit techno thriller, it's a wee bit sciencey fiction, it's a techno thriller. The tech and the science behind it, it's a very basic explanation required for understanding what's meant to be going on. So there's no big issue there. It does not stretch you intellectually at all. You can read it, you can jump into it to whatever depth you want, and you can just run with it. So the characters, a bit one-dimensional. Did I really care about them? No, not really. I was kind of in it to see where the story was going to go, and to see whether or not there could be a bit more. And that's probably what was the most frustrating thing about this. It felt like it could have been so much more. A great idea to be done properly, an incredibly complicated idea, and a lot of that feels like it was swerved to keep it at a particular length and make it an easy read. It reminded me very much, I have to say, of Greg Hurwitz's standalone books, so not the Orphan X series, although it's similar to that in a way, but the way he writes his standalone thrillers, where you pick them up, you can't stop. They just batter you through, they drag you through. You know what's coming, you know what's going to happen, you know how it's all going to work out, but you have to keep turning the pages, and it's written very much the same way. So it was a good read from that. Would I recommend it? Yes. Read it, watch the TV show when it comes out. I'm quite sure it's going to be brilliant. It'll probably be able to be a bit more mind-bending than the book was. If you read it, if you watch it, you'll maybe understand why. So yeah, we'd highly recommend it. I say, really enjoyed Wayward Pines, although it left me with a wee feeling then of, there could have been more to this. And Dark Matter's very much the same. It just feels like there just could have been something a little bit more in there, rather than throwing a wee bit of kind of the sci-fi tech onto a kind of bog standard thriller, to be honest. But a well written, fun, engaging little story. I'm saying yeah a lot because I now want to say, if you haven't read this and you're got any intention of reading it, or you're going to watch the TV programme or any of these things, stop this video now. Spoilers are coming. Spoilers alert. Spoilers. Stop watching now if you plan on reading it or watching the TV programme. For those of you that have already read it, or maybe in the future, if you're watching this, have already watched the TV programme, whatever it might be, then feel free to continue, because I want to talk about some of the issues I had with this book and this story that really are niggling in my noggin. So huge spoiler alert. If you haven't read it, stop now. Go away. You can always come back to this video in the future if you want and see what I was talking about once you've read it, but stop watching now. Have you gone? James, I can see you're still sitting there. You've not read it? Go. Okay, excellent. Right. My issues with Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. So, the story, and this is just to put it into perspective, and this is spoilers, this will ruin it for you if you have not already read the book. Our hero, Jason, protagonist, whatever you want to call him, is living a happy life as a physics professor. He could have been a brilliant scientist, his wife could have been a great artist, but instead they chose to have a child and have a domestic, normal life. He's a professor, she's a stay-at-home mum, all fairly one-dimensional. They've got a teenage son. Life is great. They're happy. They're not famous. They're not wealthy. They're none of these things, but they are happy. They are content. They love their little unit. And then all of a sudden, he gets abducted by some weirdo wearing a mask, ends up in a strange room somewhere with lots of people fussing around about him saying, welcome back, oh you're a genius, we can't believe you've done it, all of these things. So very early in the book, it's you work it out yourself as soon as he's getting kidnapped, to be honest, if you've read the cover note, which I read out earlier in this video. So it was, he kidnapped himself. The genius in another dimension, he didn't give up his work for his wife, he gave up his wife for his work, and he's created this machine which allows him to move through all the different potential realities that exist wherever you make a decision, and your universe splits in two. So the whole kind of quantum universe, multiverse, as Marvel like to call it, all of these things, that's what this guy's invented, a way to step in and do that. So this guy who has been the genius has been off exploring these different realities and discovered the one with our Jason in it, where it's the one thing he hasn't got. It's the complete opposite of what he existed for. He existed for his work in his universe. In this other universe, it's all about being, the fulfillment in the family. So he kidnaps the guy from there, dumps him back in his universe, and takes his place there so that he can have the wife, the child, etc. Right, and the story ticks on, and it's quite interesting. Our Jason escapes, works out how to work the contraption, and starts hunting and looking for his own world again to get where it is. So this is where problem one came in. Not a problem. I enjoyed this book, don't get me wrong. You know what the teenagers are into? Teenage girls and millennials in general, really. A few snowflakes. This whole visualization. Visualize what you want to happen. Draw a picture of the house you want to have. Write every night what you want your sales to be, and it will happen. The universe will make it so. It felt like I was reading a story about that. It didn't have to be a big techie chamber. It could have been a teenage girl sitting on her bed meditating. I will have a new car, whatever it might have been, and to make sure that the universe gives you that option, that when you go into your phone and look at your eBay sales, that will be the choice where there's £1,000. That's what it kind of felt like, that he'd just taken that and put it into a wee bit of very basically described tech. It worked as to keep the story going, and then it gets even closer to that. Again, I'm assuming anyone who's watching this has read the book, so you know what I'm talking about. That you go into the box, you take a drug, and then the box becomes, the door to the box becomes infinite. There's multiple doors for all the potential different choices that could have been made throughout your life that you could walk and step into, which again is fine up to a point until it's a case of, oh, but wait a minute, what we visualise, what we want, will be behind that door. That's the world we will arrive in. It's like, oh, come on, mate, you're not a 14-year-old girl. Get a grip. So that was really annoying. It was just like something really basic, really whatever you think of that, and just pretending it was sci-fi and tech. That nipped my head a little bit, but see, it's a well-paced book. Kept going with it. Then he has, I think it's Amanda, who helps him escape in the first place, and she's there for a purpose, to help him get out. But it feels like he just doesn't know what to do with her. Blake Crouch, Blake as the author, he just gets like, don't know what to do. Well, she writes her notes and runs off. Where did she go? What happened? That's annoying. I hate it when that happens. And then, obviously, and this is obviously the major spoiler, so really, if you haven't read the book, please don't watch any further. Turn this off. If anyone's away making a cup of tea and this is running in the background, come back and turn it off now. He gets back to his own world eventually, where Jason 2 exists, as he calls him, and he's working out how to get Jason 2 out and get back into his family, and suddenly discovers that there's lots more of him there. So every time he's gone into a different world or made a choice within that period of time since he was abducted, that's created another branch of him. So there's dozens of other hims that came from his same timeline, all there trying to get back with the wife and child, which is a bit of a, oh, this could be interesting. It's quite, well, deep. A lot of philosophical questions potentially in there. None of them asked, none of them answered, let's be perfectly honest. So there's all of these Jasons floating about, and that's a nice wee twist. I didn't actually see that coming. I wasn't expecting that. It seemed a bit too intelligent for what the story was, that concept. But then it dumbs it down again. All the other Jasons you can quite easily dislike so that you can stick with our protagonist. And weirdly his wife feels the same way. But there's all these Jasons kicking about, and that's fine. But what bugs me, right? So he's gone into this world and he's had like 20 chances, 20 loads of these drugs to try and find his own world, right? Which he manages to do, and he's down to like almost the last one. Jason 2, who had first come there and taken on his world, had 100 opportunities to do that. And 100 is a lot more than 20. And if his 20 odd opportunities created all these dozens and dozens of different Jasons, and that's just the ones that made it to his world, then the 100, potentially 100 attempts that Jason 2 used to get to that world must have created dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of Jason 2s. Where are they? They're not there. Surely they would have all begun to show up as well with a similar scheme to take over that life, because that's what they were doing. That's, you know, if one thought that way, another would have thought that way and got that way. Did that not happen because he was just out exploring, and it was only when he came across that world he suddenly thought, oh, wait a minute, this is something I want to do? Or was it more of a planned thing? That's never gone into, it's never explained. But if there was more than one Jason 1, there had to be more than one Jason 2. So where were they? And once all the Jason 1s started appearing, I thought it's going to be like an army of Jasons versus an army of Jasons, which could have been quite entertaining. It would have been come across as pretty far-fetched, but it was far-fetched for the type. That's the type of story it is. It's supposed to be. But where were all the Jason 2s? No? Am I just whittling on nonsense-wise? Anyway, that was my issues with it. Like I say, I really enjoyed it. The stuff on the cover, you know, there's the book, and you've got your little other author comments. Lee Child says brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a great ride. It was a very Lee Childish type book from that one. Exceptional, Andy Weir. I've read The Martian, and that's about it. But compared to that, this wasn't exceptional. It was, you know, teenage girl science. That sounds really sexist, misogynistic, whatever. It's not meant that way. It's just my daughter loves that whole visualization thing, and I'm taking nothing away from it. The power of prayer, the power of faith, all of these things. It has its place, and it can work wonders for people. It can help you achieve things because it helps you get a focus, whatever it may be. But yeah, it wasn't not exceptional from that point of view. Masterful by Harlan Coben. I've read one Harlan Coben book a long time ago, and it was quite good. So maybe by his standards, it was masterful. I don't know. Mind-bending, Justin Cronin. Only Justin Cronin I've read is the Passage trilogy, and some of that was getting towards mind-bending and masterful and exceptional and brilliant, but it was way beyond the subject matter of that. So that's my issues with Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. It was great fun. Read it, you'll thoroughly enjoy it. The TV programme, I feel, might be able to go a wee bit deeper, and because it'll have a much better visual presence, then it could be more, you know, the shocks, the jumps, the starts will be more on screen, I think, than they were on the page. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I feel. What happened to Amanda? Why did she just get written out and disappeared? Why was the whole technical side of the science could have gone a little bit deeper? It might have made it a bit more complex, might have turned off a couple of readers, would probably have brought a lot more in. It could have been a lot cleverer, a lot more intelligent, required a bit more using of this to catch on and follow up, so that you get that. I don't know, this is probably just me, you know, but you're reading something and it's like, it's in there and you begin to get it, and then it clicks and you suddenly understand what he's talking about and going on. I love that feeling, that sudden spark of understanding. Not because I'm particularly clever or anything, but just getting to that point where I was like, oh, I get it. That didn't happen. It was really basic. And the only thing that got close to that was going, oh, this is just the stuff. Manifestation. It's manifestation. It's a book about manifestation, which, whether you believe in it or not, I don't know. But yeah, that was the sci-fi and the tech was manifestation. And then the multiple universe of all these Jason 1s have appeared. Where are all the Jason 2s? That's the biggest, most glaring hole in the whole thing. If there's more than one Jason 1, where were all the Jason 2s? If I've missed something really obvious in this, which I sometimes do when I just sit and read something all in one go, you know, bits get fogged out perhaps, please tell me what you think and what's going on. But for now, yes, go and read it. It's great fun. It's not particularly clever, but it's a good thriller that will keep you turning the pages, and I am still looking forward to the TV programme, and I will be watching it as it drops, I'm assuming weekly on Apple TV. That's all for now. I'll catch you later.